Boom. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. We have Najah Roberts on the call. So, Najah, our COO, Daniel, pointed us in your direction. He's always finds interesting things. So, why don't we drop in? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so my name is Najah Roberts, and I am the Chief Visionary Officer of Crypto Blockchain Plug, which is one of three brick and mortar cryptocurrency exchanges, over the counter exchanges in the US. And so we're just super excited to be in the space. We've been open for about 2 years. It kind of serves as like a cryptocurrency WeWork space where people can come in, but also the community can get educated. So they're buying and selling Bitcoin, they're educating themselves on Bitcoin, and we have just white glove service. As you know, the cryptocurrency ecosystem is 100% online, right? So it would be 99% online with us because we are that 1% that gives you hands on, real people with real solutions.
Well, so one of the things Daniel told me is that you help focus on education for children, and I think education in general is one of the probably the biggest gaps for so many things. As an example, I'm really interested in venture capital, but this is something I knew nothing about 5 years ago. The only way to learn anything was basically to dive in on the internet and start doing my own research. So, you want to tell us a little bit about some of the education stuff you're doing?
So sure. So on a monthly basis, Crypto Blockchain Plugs has several things. And what our philosophy is that we meet people where they are. So that being said, um, I love doing things that help women understand finances. So we have a Wine Women in Crypto. We also have a On the Block, and that's where we're teaching the community about blockchain technology and how it will eventually affect their lives or not. Because they could be on the blockchain and not know that they're doing a thing on the blockchain. So we have education around that. We also have Bitcoin business basics for business owners to try to figure out how to accept Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in their businesses. We also have something I love. It's called Coinonomics. And that's an opportunity for us to do like a Shark Tank type of thing where we actually vet these companies. We have their owners and our representatives on that really talk about their coin. We get to pick them apart, see if it's a real good project or if they're just trying to siphon money out of us, right? So we do that on Coinomics. And then we also have, I actually have a Crypto Masters, which is a Toastmaster group that comes in. We do speeches and all of it's all centered around cryptocurrency. We have a Cryptoscape where people come. You've heard about those escape rooms. Well, we use our whole facility and people have to answer questions and they have to escape at the end from the bank. So we do like fun stuff to help educate people. And of course, we do the regular crypto 101, those sorts of things. I do a ledger in me 1, 2, 3 as a group to help people set up their ledgers because a lot of people are scared to do those transactions. So everything we do is centered around education. And last but not least, the Crypto Kids Camp, which is my baby. I absolutely love it. We're educating children ages 5 to 17 on emerging technologies. We have a module that we say goodbye to STEM and STEAM and hello to beast mode. And we go beast mode on breaks. And the reason why we chose breaks is because most children during breaks kind of get a little mischievous. They don't have much to do. They're like bored, school's not in. So we do this on breaks. And what we do is educate the kids on the different emerging technologies. And so that beast mode, if I might really quick, stands for B is blockchain. The E is evolution of money, which is cryptocurrency. The A is for artificial intelligence and augmented reality. Then we also have the S, which is security, and that cybersecurity. T is technology. M is on is I see you smiling because I know, well, I know this by heart, right? So mining and machine learning. Then the O in beast mode is online gaming. Then when you get to the D, we got a lot of stuff. We have drones, D apps, decentralization. We have DAOs that we just added so the kids can learn about that. And then last but not least is E for engineering. And one of the beauties of this program is the kids walk away with a brand new laptop, a cell phone that is packed full of cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. That's first. They learn about that first. They walk away with a drone, a robot. We just started partnering with Alexa, with Amazon, so they'll be going on with Alexa Homes and a virtual reality headset. So these kids leave with not only understanding the technologies, but the toys to go home and continue this education.
So I want to rewind and start over and go to this class. This sounds sounds better. One of the things that's difficult for education when you're younger too is that it's not generally focused on what you're interested in. I think you talked about kids kind of getting mischievous with their time off, and often it's because they don't know what they want to be doing and what they want to be focused on. I think
Yes.
finding the things that you're interested in when you're younger makes such a big difference, because then you get that long-term investment into things that will benefit you. How are you able to provide so many things for the students, and how would like a child sign up for a class like this?
So the children sign up, or the parents sign up on cryptokidscamp.org. We are a 501c3. We are a nonprofit organization. And what we've been able to do thus far is 100% contingent upon individual donations. And so we need individual donors to go to our giving block and give cryptocurrency if they want, or they can just make outright donations on PayPal or Cash App. But we definitely need the community to step up. And the reason why it's so important for the cryptocurrency ecosystem to actually step up, because those that are not in our space, they don't understand that we need to be doing these things. So some of our challenges where we go to like the Kellogg's Foundation or the Parker's Foundation, they're like, what, crypto? Like, kids don't need to learn that stuff. Like, that's, to some people, it's still, we're in a gray area where they think we're dealing with cannabis or something. I mean, they really frown on the fact that we're talking to our kids about cryptocurrency and what it holds for the future. And so we really need the initial support to come directly from our community. And so we're always searching for donors, because we do have a lot of children that participate that are on public assistance to no fault of their own. As a child, they still need to be afforded the same opportunities as children that have the means. So we say no to no child. So if we get a child that registers and they don't have any money to pay for the program, we are looking for people to sponsor these children all day, every day. In fact, we're working on a campaign right now to just really reach out, because we got a building donated, but now that building needs to be renovated. So we've got a lot of things that need to happen. And so we're just really super excited about what we're doing.
Yeah, education is such a key part. I dropped out of school in grade 10, but I had a fairly good knack for studying things I was interested in. Actually, to some degree, the only reason I've been able to maintain a success is because I'm so deeply interested in researching and studying the things that I like and find interesting. What do you think some of the biggest hurdles are for maybe not just children, but the average individual? Because I think, you brought up crypto kind of being a dirty word. People don't really understand what it is. I think finance in general, people don't really understand the idea of what's the difference between price and value, for instance, right? There's these common, almost philosophical questions that people just don't ask, like, why we don't get charged for air, yet air is one of the most valuable things in your life. You're never really recollecting on how valuable air is. If you had to pay for each breath, it'd be a much different story. So
Yes.
do you feel that some of the conversation around, like, not just crypto, but like the education of finance, money, or wealth, or richness, or just conversations people aren't having? Or do you feel, I guess here's another way to say it, like, do you feel people that think that money or finance is like one of the bad things?
I think it depends on culturally, because there's some different things culturally that have happened within our community where money, uh, people that are wealthy are frowned upon. And I don't want to say frowned upon, but like stingy, are people that are not giving back, and that's absolutely not the case. And I think if we, without mixing too much religion in there, one of the most misquoted things out of the Bible is money is the root of all evil. And it's not that, it is the love of money is the root of all evil. And I think that for a lot of different communities has put in the back of people's mind that money isn't, to have money is not such the greatest thing, or it's, and I don't want to say a bad thing. However, it's kind of frowned upon because they continuously misquote that thing. But I think it's retraining us to understand that money is not an evil thing. In fact, for those who have it, if put in the right perspective or used in the right way, it's for good. But also, one of the things that we have to really retrain people's mindset is to really understand that money gives you options. And it's not all about just, I got this money and I got this thing, but it gives you the options to be able to do better and more things for your family and for your community. And so I think that's one of the things that we found in educating our community, that we're making changes in their mindset and their thought. But you're absolutely right. My mother and father never sat down at my table and talked to me about money. And in fact, my mother did a really good job at um, keeping away the fact that they were living paycheck to paycheck. And my parents had phenomenal jobs. My mother was a school teacher for LA Unified School District, and my dad worked for Rockwell International. But I know now that they were struggling to continue to make ends meet because the interest rates on the mortgage loans were high, the interest rates on the, so those kinds of conversations are different in different communities. But no matter what community you're in across the board, almost everybody will tell you that nobody talks about money in school, how it works, what needs to happen, how we need to be planning. And I just myself, I was kind of privileged to see the best of both worlds. I grew up inner city in the neighborhood, which is a city called Watts, that you all may hear about here in California or in LA. There was a big thing called the Watts riots back in the day, but it was a predominantly Black community. And because my mother was an educator, she didn't want me to be educated in the neighborhood, in the ghetto, to say the least, because of the fact that we were given handed down books and all these other things. So she actually had me bused to a well-to-do community when the opportunity became available, so that I could get a better education in a better neighborhood. I lived in this neighborhood, but they couldn't afford to move to this neighborhood where they sent me to school. So I was there, but I got a chance to really get a taste of, my counterpart at school, their uncle passed away. One of my first recollections is around sixth grade. He passed away, the uncle. And one of the kids came to school and said, yeah, my uncle died and, left me like $3 million. And I can't get it till I graduate from high school and go to college. And I'm like, $3 million? Like, of course, $100 sounds like a lot, but you get all this money because your uncle died. Like, what is your uncle doing different than my uncle that just died and we were raising money for his funeral? Like, the disparity, it was just huge. And so I started to take a look at those things early on to try to understand, why is it so different 30 minutes from here? Just the mindset. And so in my community, and I know all this stuff has to do with money, but again, because we talk about like what the issues are, it's just what would I say, culturally is so different. So even case in point with that, I started to realize that it was an insurance policy that got paid out, which left him the millions. But then I started to look in my community, and people would run from the insurance man. When the insurance man would come around to collect those premiums, our community was shutting the door and acting like they were the Jehovah Witnesses. But that came from culturally, that the insurance companies had ripped our families off, and nobody even knew that they had been ripped off. Because there's just so many things that happen. And so all those conversations in our community, again, being much different than other communities. But when we get to the root of what the real issue is, that's what we're trying to do in this cryptocurrency space. We got to deal with those rooted issues first, then kind of bring people to where we are and how this self-sovereign system is the best system that could have ever happened to our community. And so that's why I'm so passionate about education, because you can't just tell a folk, you can't just tell people, oh, forget about that. That happened in the past, because there's so many underlying layers of things that have got these mindsets like ass backwards. I curse too. So like ass backwards. So we got to untrain them and help them understand about self-sovereignty. And so I know I went a long way on that question, but just so you can kind of really get an idea of the vast differences in how we were raised or how we learned the ideology that we have behind money.
Yeah, I grew up in a really small town in Canada. I think the first 5 or 6 years of my life, there's only 1,000 people in this tiny mountain town, and everybody was like they worked in the lumber industry or something to do with forestry, right? Usually cutting down trees or often drilling for oil. And my parents were a fairly low middle class family. We were always shopping at the used stores as well, shoes that didn't fit. And it was, we I had a it's interesting to see that the perception of opportunity is often what changes the availability of understanding that something new is possible. Like, for instance, my parents have never invested. The first time they made an investment was in Bitcoin in 2017, because I was shaking them to try to do something, right? But they had never invested. They'd always bought liabilities. Like, oh, I'm going to buy a house. It's like, well, not realizing that, you're on the house, you have to pay taxes, you have to fix that house. It's like a whole bunch of nonsense that goes into owning it, that a house actually ends up more like a liability. And they never once invested in any of the companies that they're growing up around. And I think that, one of the things that was really predominant for me was just kind of, yeah, like you're saying, leaving that community of that small area to find out, I still don't think my parents recognize that there's like 8-year-old kids making millions of dollars on YouTube who just review toys. Like, there's this large gap between the opportunities that are available on the internet and in the digital world for anyone who has something valuable to present. And then this kind of older structure where, like, oh, I got to go get a job, I got to work somewhere between the 9 to 5. But yeah, you're right. A big part of it is not just the education, but the perception of opportunity and the I guess the nuance around that as well too. Because my parents had never invested. They thought it was risky. They're like, oh, investments are risky. You're like, yeah, well, life is generally a risky substance. How do you excel and accelerate? And I think a huge, because I never taught us anything. Like, even in school, there's no classes on taxes, no classes on where money or finance come from, or why investment is a good idea. You really have to go out of your way. It's one of the most, I think, not just about the technology in the blockchain sector, but about technology in general, is that it allows the opportunity to really go everywhere. The fact that, we can have a conversation like this and it's affordable for us was never possible 10 years ago. You would have needed millions of dollars in production studio to do it. So there's just this huge amount of opportunities hit the table in the last few years. I really don't think if people have got it. I kept trying to convince my parents, like, don't send my little brothers to school. Like, they're better off learning how to use LinkedIn and Twitter, like learning how to code on YouTube or something. So I'm really stoked about the stuff that you do with children. We're a big fan of that, because they're always not in control of the opportunities that they're given. They're pretty much born into whatever community and substrate of ideas. So I think that's a hugely important part. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the other? I listened to a podcast that your business partner did, and I hear you're going around traveling to different cities trying to help educate people as well.
So yeah, so again, meeting the people where they are. So and not charging them for it at first. And so, because again, people have got to see the value in what you're doing. So if I'm saying, hey, you all need to invest in this thing called Bitcoin, and then I am not giving them the steps, and then they're like, well, what the hell is a Bitcoin? You got to go meet the people where they are. So we decided to do a 33 city tour. We decided to be inner city. And I'm not talking about at the mayor's office on the steps. I'm talking about in the projects, in the apartments, in the parks where people are, so that we can have this conversation about cryptocurrency. So we decided to leave California and take the whole entire month of May, and we went all around the country, all inner city, and people just could not believe that we were literally coming to their apartments or project housing units. They were like, well, you know, the diplomats usually come, but they don't come this far in. Well, I'm that one. We're coming this far in because this far in needs to understand that we can possibly close the wealth gap. If you all understand Bitcoin specifically, I'm not coming to talk about cryptocurrencies. I don't want to hear nothing about Dogecoin and of course, I had a bunch of arguments about Dogecoin. No problem, because I know a couple of Dogecoin millionaires. However, for the majority of folks in my community, they've been hurt, not helped in some of these other purchases. So I won't even get into that. But my specific goal was to come in and help them, bring them along to how we got to this cryptocurrency thing, what this Bitcoin thing is about, and how even 1,000,000 Satoshis being held in your private wallet may eventually prove to be the best thing you've ever done in your entire life. And so if we just start there with 1,000,000 Satoshis. So that was our message going out, not an entire Bitcoin. No, we're talking about you getting 1,000,000 Satoshis. So if that is $300 today and you don't have $300, well, then you need to do dollar cost averaging and spend $20 every single week until you get 1,000,000 Satoshis. You stack it away in your wallet, then you get 1,000,000 Satoshis for the next family member. And that is how we disseminated the information. And hopefully we left a lot of seeds around a bunch of cities so that as we go back, because it's not a one-off, as we go back, we've now got a group of people that are stacking their 1,000,000 Satoshis at a time. And now they're talking to family members about it. And so that was our approach to this thing.
Yeah, I love it. You know, a few weeks ago, we shared a meme, and it had a photo of two like cartoon girls or whatever. It's like, here's Nyla, and Nyla pays $12 a month for Netflix every month. She's been paying for Netflix every month for the last 5 years. And like, here's, I don't know, we'll say Najah, because I don't remember actually what the other meme girl's name was. Najah instead invests the $12 every month into Netflix stock effectively. And there's the difference where, and you know, just in general, the idea behind investing is that it's growth, and B, it's growth through time, right? We commonly, you know, I think that most people don't recognize that even small amounts of money invested consistently over the course of a decade can yield massive results. You know, they look like, oh, well, what's my $12 this month going to do? And then you compare the two, is like, well, one has hundreds of hours of entertainment, and now the other one has an extra $350,000 in their account over the course of 5 years.
Right.
And it's just,
yep.
Yeah, just that, getting that simple strategy, whether it's dollar cost averaging. Like I actually kind of hope that we start to see subscription models, like where, you know, if you're paying for this type of product, you're also investing into the company every time. Like, one of the things I like about this too is that the internet and the digital age is really flattening the playing field to say, you know, you talk about people getting hurt with something like Doge Coin. And, you know, one of the things, you know, I'm hugely fascinated by venture capital, where you have the potential for an infinite room of upside, but only how much you put in for downside. In early August of 2020, I was like, guys, you should have at least a little bit of money in Dogecoin, because if you know what you're willing to lose on that particular investment, it could go up astronomically. We had people make a crap ton of money off of Dogecoin because they're like, well, look, I don't mind maybe losing $100 or that $12 I would have invested into Netflix. So I'm always trying to get people into that investment strategy where, what am I willing to lose this month to have that huge
Right.
room for upside. And I agree with you. You've been a long time proponent for Bitcoin, and I think that generally it's the less risky. And as it gets less risky, it gets less volatile, which means less room for upside. But the strategy itself has remained consistent. If you rewind to the early, like 1999, you're like, okay, well, what would we be doing then, Najah? Would we be like, okay, well, let's find the coolest tech companies. So if you're using TikTok, you should also be investing in it. Like almost every product that you use on a frequent basis, you should be also investing into their
Investing in
company.
it. Yes.
It yields these huge results for people.
Yes.
Like even again, back, like my parents, they have no idea that some of this stuff was possible. They're like, wait, how did you do so well? I'm like, no, this is the thing that's so interesting is if you are using a product, it's most likely that that company will continue to succeed. And the more you use it, the more likely it is. So why not take that extra step?
Invest in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, is that small amount, that 10 or 20 bucks a week, 20 bucks a month really, really adds up over time. It's such a hugely important part to the education. So I'm glad you're doing that too. When you were going out, what was the response of the community, like I guess on an average for that kind of stuff?
I mean, people were coming out. We were packing out. We were packing out the different venues that we had. And the reception was great. And because I was speaking the truth, when you talk about your parents investing, you talk to them about long term, right? You talked about what this may look like in the future. Well, when most of our communities get in introduced to something, if they get introduced to this as get rich quick. And so when we talk about Dogecoin, yes, do 100 or 200 and let it sit there and see what it's going to do. But my community, when they got introduced to Dogecoin, it was, oh my God, I made this money off this thing because it was already on the up, right? And then while I was out, coincidentally in Atlanta, I had a young lady that walked up to me that had just unloaded her 401k, $60,000 into Dogecoin, and that was the Friday before the Elon Musk Saturday Night Live on Saturday, because she was told that Dogecoin was going to go to $1. So she unloaded 60,000 of her retirement in Dogecoin. And she came to me after that. That was a Saturday I was doing this talk. And she said, well, I just did this on Wednesday. And not only did I do it, my couple of my girlfriends did it, and my adult kids did it, and we're all here, and we're hearing you say not to do the Dogecoin thing, because at that time Dogecoin was like 60 cents. Like, we're already at the peak, folks. Like, this is not the time to be all in Dogecoin. And I was saying that, and I even had people on my feed saying, oh, she's a Dogecoin hater and yada yada yada. I mean, it was like noisy, and I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to feed into it. I'm just telling my community, this is not the price point you need to be going all in Dogecoin. Like, you've missed the boat, in my opinion. But if you're going to do this, do it for long term and do less than what you would normally do. But she came up, she's like, I need to know if I need to sell this. I'm like, I'm not a financial advisor anymore, but I can't give you financial advice. I can just tell you what I think, which tomorrow you could be mad at me because it could possibly go to $1. But I'm telling you, I don't think it's going to go to $1. And I don't think it'll ever go to $1 because of the amount of coin that's being mined, and just mathematically, it's impossible. Okay, so we're gonna go there, and I'm saying mathematically things can happen, and I'm not gonna argue with anybody. I know you're gonna get some stuff on your feed, but that very night I stayed up to watch Saturday Night Live, and I damn near cried, because that one person, which I know is not the single person, because she already said her friends and family did it, and so did a bunch of other communities across the US in my type of neighborhood, because that was the buzz. That was the buzz. And they lost half within seconds. And I just, it's that somebody else who now needs, somebody else that now needs another retirement plan because hers is gone. So those are the types of things when I say hurt our community, like that doesn't even hurt that disables our community. And so we just got to make sure that the education is there and that people know full on what they're doing. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is by all means invest only what you can afford to lose. And I say that with Bitcoin as well, because we've got to be in respect of all these things and understand. But that's just one of the major challenges that we face. But everybody was receptive. Of course, I had a couple. My biggest arguments were the folks that are champions for XRP and Doge Coin while I was out there. They were arguing with me. And so, and I don't argue. I just like, okay, well, and even the Dogecoin guys, you made $1 million, but holla at your girl after you pay your taxes on that. What? Taxes? Tax? You do live here in the United States, right? And Coinbase did report that to the IRS, right? So, there are some things that you need to know. And people are like, what? Nobody told us we had to pay tax. Like, that is exactly correct. And then based on, what you did before you went from Bitcoin to Ethereum to then go to Dogecoin, you created a couple of other taxable events. And people are just like, what? Like, yes, that part. So those are the things that we know that we have got to push this education. And of course, that comes with free, because nobody's going to pay you to consult them to tell you that they did a bunch of taxable events. So we're just kind of in a catch-22 situation where we're working with limited funds to educate. But we have to, because if we don't, we're going to be in a whirlwind of trouble inner city across the US. And so I guess we're more of a mission than a business. So if you buy Bitcoin from us, you are funding the mission to educate, because that's exactly where it goes. Like, we literally can honestly say we've not made a dime by way of just like us pocketing money like another exchange would, because we put it all back out in education and keeping our staff and all those things. Like, we're really serious about what we do. And it comes at a cost to somebody, and that cost is us as the founder and chief visionary officer and some of those other things. So, and that's just keeping it 100.
Yeah, that's a really difficult thing. I'm a strong proponent of education over regulation as well, because you find someone like the woman with her retirement, who in some degree they're making a right step, but just doing it wrong, which is they're going out of their way to invest in something that's interesting and has, I'm not saying Dogecoin has potential per se, but just the nuance in the conversation is the important part of the education, right? Like, don't put all of it in. And don't put all of it in thinking it's going to go from 60 cents to $1. You want to get it in when nobody's talking about it. And you want to be more consistent. Like you said, that $5 to $10, $12 a month is actually a huge addition over the course of 5 or 10 years. And that step of kind of making your first investment, like a lot of the times, a lot of the people I talk to in this sector, this is the first time that they've invested in something, period. Again, I think a house generally is a liability more than an investment, unless it's a productive piece of property effectively. But, what's interesting again about this space is that it's attracting a lot of people who have never been investors, never thought about investing at all. And then they just dive all in. They're like, I'm going all in on something, like no extra thought process, because a lot of the times when we do something for the first time, you have to be bold enough to make that first step, right? And that's why, whether it's how much you can lose or the education into, well, instead of buying 50 or 60 grand, like, let's just have $5 to $10 and let's use the investment of learning as kind of the leader here. I think that people investing into their own education, understanding how things work, like Uniswap was a great example of this, where just for participating in Uniswap, you got more money from Uniswap than the government gave you. I think the Uniswap tokens at their high of what they just gave you for free was worth like 15 grand.
Yeah.
And that was just for going through, participating and educating yourself about how some of these technologies work. And again, this whole sector, the rewards that you get for participating early or for participating at all can be so huge. Again, you take that idea of Uniswap, you play around, you make one trade. It didn't have to be a big trade, but now you've got all these extra Uniswap tokens. You could walk away maybe 5 years from now, and that might be worth $150,000, and it cost you nothing to get it. All you
Yeah.
had to do was invest in learning how to participate and playing around with the technology the same way you would with Instagram. Like I remember the first time I installed Instagram, or the first time I installed TikTok, like you got to figure your way around. Like, what the hell is this? Like, why are people using this damn thing? You know?
Yes. Or why aren't they using this damn thing, which would be my issue, right?
Yes, yeah. Why aren't they using it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's people are slow to make that first step. It's one of those things too, where and then they make the first step and they go in way too
All in,
heavy.
all in, every toe in instead of a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. There's I think it's probably one of the most important parts about that educational conversation is getting them to learn how to make. There's a book I really like. It's called Dan Dow. It's by a guy named Monish Prabhai. He's an Indian investor, and his quote that kind of summates all of it is: "Heads I win, tails I only lose like a little bit." Right? And when you know that you can only lose a little bit, you have all this room for upside in the participation factor. And it's one of the things I always try to drive home with our community too, is like, look guys, if you're going to invest in something, don't wait to be like, oh, well, when is it the best time to buy? If you're interested, throw 10, like you're saying, 10, $20 in, because the investment in the education of how to actually participate is often worth more than the investment in self the first few times you do it anyways. So just I can't stress that part of the conversation enough with people. It's really, really interesting to see. So I'm glad you're helping people go through that one, because it's fundamentally, you're right. A lot of people get caught up in the get rich quick. Like, oh, I'm going to trade, I'm going to buy it here, I'm going to sell it there, I'm going to rebuy back here. It's like, if you made a good investment, you could just keep investing for decades and never once sell and come out ahead if you're, if you're
Yeah.
doing it properly. So it's fascinating to see. Um, Najah, I've got another call here that's going to be coming up at the end of the hour. Is there anything you'd like to go over specifically that we haven't covered? Daniel only gave me like a quick synopsis and an update.
No, I just want to say I appreciate you all for allowing me to be on your fantastic platform. You all are incredible. The work that you do is incredible, and I hope to grow up and be just like you and have a beautiful home in a lush green place. No, I appreciate you all, but no, that's it. For folks just to really understand that we're in a unique time, we're in a unique space, and we're needing unique things because everybody doesn't understand us, and it is critically important that those of us that are in the space start to support each other more and really understand some of the challenges that we're facing. And so, uh, we're breaking barriers because like as of up actually you're having a momentous, this is a day that I can actually mark on the calendar. We finally, after 2.5 years, got a bank account with the word crypto in it. We got a call today from Umpqua Bank that is going to let our crypto kids camp have an account. Nobody wants to bank us. Again,
Wait, Najah, hold on. Najah, see, one of the tricks in the corporate world is to not have so side point. So for me, opening corporations, opening bank accounts, I'm not an American citizen, and I've been banking offshore for most of
right,
my life. Like, I'm a
right.
non-resident. I don't have to pay taxes because of that. And one of the things I started to try to figure out too was how that system worked. And we always, when we open a company, it's always like research or something like
Right. I
something,
get it.
study, education.
So let me tell you. So I've been doing corporations the last 25 years. And this is one that I decided, well, I'm the confrontational person. So I'm going to say that in making sure that you're understanding. I wanted to do something where we're forging a path because if everybody decides we have this thing and we're going to not, and I don't want to say hide what we're doing, but we've got it offshore. I've got Wyoming corporations. I got Delaware corporations. I have those. But what I needed to do was say to the United States, we are here. We are a real business. And no matter what you say, first, you're going to give us our 501c3 status with the word crypto in there, which they fought tooth and nail. But we got that done, right? So now we're saying to the banks, we're not doing anything illicit. We're not an illicit activity. This is a kids camp, and somebody's going to give us an account. Now, it's taken us a while, and we've had to lobby, we've had to argue, but now we've done something, and now we can kind of clear the path for those that are coming behind us. So that's kind of what this is about for me, because yeah, I could have went off and done it, but there's some other issues that come with that. When there's no rules and regulations, then they start to make shit up, and then there's like, oh, you did this to circumvent, and then it becomes conspiracy to commit and all these other things. So I said, you know what, instead of me having with these two businesses to just bull crap and go around about like everybody else is doing, and eventually they start doing arresting people anyway. So let's just say here, we're here. This is what we're doing. So now, like, what now? So what next week? What next month? And so that's the way I've approached this. And I know even my compliance attorneys, they're like, we could just, and I'm like, no, we can just fight them, because we have got to make sure that we're able, this is our liberty. We ought to have the autonomy. We ought to be able to do whatever we want to do with our property. It's our property. So I'm that one. And you know, I don't want to be like John McAfee and get sniped off, because I don't think I just think they sniped him, right? But anyway, but I'm prepared. You know, if that's what I need to do to make sure I'm educating my community and that they have access to being able to participate in the cryptocurrency space, then shall be it. But yeah, I get it. I got companies on the shelf. I got all that stuff. But this, I just decided to do a little bit different. So today we got another win, because we have a bank account that bears the name crypto on it, even though, man, it took us fighting to get this one, but it's a start. So
I commend you for that. I definitely aim for the path of least resistance, like water. I'm like, where's the flow gonna go the easiest?
I get it. I get it. So I appreciate you, but that's it.
No, it's
So
awesome.
I know you got a call, and I appreciate you.
Well,
And
leave it. How about you let everyone know the social links where they can find you, and then we'll leave those in the description down below as well.
sure, sure. So you can find me on social media under Najah Roberts. I'm at Najah Roberts almost everywhere except Instagram. I'm Roberts Najah. Don't know how that happened, but that, and then the name of my company is Crypto Blockchain Plug. Like you plug something in the wall, we're plugging in for power. And then the Crypto Kids Camp, again, is cryptokidscamp.org. We are hoping that all of you that do have to pay taxes because you didn't go offshore, if you need a little tax write-off, we would be the right place. We're not spending your money frivolously. We're educating kids on all things cryptocurrency and blockchain related.
Awesome, Naja. You know, one of the things that just came to mind while you're saying that is, have you know what a DAF is, or a donor advised fund?
No, I don't. And I am going to write that down.
Yeah,
Donor advised fund.
yeah, I would check that out. We did a podcast with the SDG group about a year and a half ago. So donor advised funds is how you can write off, I think, almost all of your taxes. I think they made that a new rule. You can write off all of your taxes if you give to a DAF or a donor advised fund. But this is another unique way, and it might be a way for you to find potential funding for crypto kids, et cetera, as well, would be to reach out to someone like SDG Impact, as they are a donor advised fund, but they have, some of these guys have tens or hundreds of millions of dollars locked up looking for places for funding to go. So it might be an interesting route to communicate. And it's another way to create an avenue for tax write-offs, and then the donors can advise, get to pick where the funds go. So it might be something unique to look into.
Thank you. We always need it. Thank you. Thank you. And if you happen to run into Satoshi on these, Satoshi Nakamoto on any of these podcasts, please feel free to tell him we'd love to help him transfer some of his Bitcoin from his wallet that he's never touched into ours at Crypto Kids Camp. We love to do that for him. Just help him out tremendously. So just let him know for me.
Well, I did get a chance to actually hang out with the Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto, the Japanese fellow that everyone thought was Satoshi. very
Yeah,
fascinating character. You had to feel sorry for him a little bit for getting like just to be thrown into the
I
nonsense.
do.
Like,
I
yeah,
feel for the brother.
yeah. Yeah, he was such a sweetheart too, such a nice gentleman. Anyways, Najah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. I really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content, ladies and gentlemen. Leave us all your thoughts, your comments, your questions down below. Check out Najah and all of her companies' links in the description. And we'll see you guys again in the next episode. Najah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. You have an incredible rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.